Well, he is a cruel, criminal, and mentally unstable man. And Duty to Warn was a book that came out when he was first in office. Psychiatrists across the country who don't ever really diagnose people that they don't serve personally came together and made a book, Duty to Warn, to tell the world what a narcissistic, mentally ill person he is. And I think he's the worst thing that ever happened to the United States. And his cruelty...
Rosie O'Donnell recently unleashed a scathing takedown of Donald Trump, so intense it could have sparked a 5-alarm fire at Mar-a-Lago. She didn't hold back, calling out his incessant tirades, his reality TV-fueled fantasies, and the ever-growing pile of legal troubles closing in on him. True to form, Trump didn't take it lying down, responding with his usual brand of chaos, shouting in all caps on social media, hurling oddball insults, and throwing what can only be described as a full-blown fit. The clash between these two outsized personalities was nothing short of volcanic, and Rosie came out on top, leaving Trump flustered and thoroughly outmatched.
What's going on, mainstream media? You're not doing your job. And you haven't since he came down that escalator. You haven't been doing your job. If you would have told the truth about him from the beginning and stood up to the lies that Mark Burnett sold America on The Apprentice, we wouldn't be in this position. But you you normalized Trump, and that's what Time Magazine did. Man of the Year, Donald Trump. Well, you, Time Magazine. You, seriously.
The moment Rosie O'Donnell launched her blistering critique of Trump, the internet didn't just buzz, it exploded like a supernova. Her words landed like a seismic shockwave, leaving no question that she meant business. The heat was so intense, you could practically imagine Trump's signature spray tan melting under the pressure. Almost instantly, Twitter erupted into a battleground, a frenzy of laughing emojis, stunned reactions, and fervent MAGA supporters desperately firing back in all-caps rage. It was the kind of spectacle you couldn't ignore, no matter how hard you tried. But before we jump back into the drama, can we take a quick moment? Did you know that 99% of you incredible viewers haven't hit that subscribe button yet? If you're loving the content, why not join the family? One quick click is all it takes. It's free, effortless, and it helps keep this channel going strong. Let's grow this community together. Now, back to the madness.
Where were you when, in the 2016 primaries, Trump starts insulting you? Did you see that live, or did someone tell you Trump's talking about you right now?
I was watching it live.
You were watching it live.
And my kids were in the room with me. And they said, Mom, what, did he just say you? I go, yes, he did. And he's not only insulting me, he's insulting any woman that he doesn't think lives up to his standards of what a woman is. And that's the kind of person that this man is, and why he's a danger to the world.
What set off this fiery showdown? Oh, just years of bubbling animosity and a heap of unresolved grudges. Trump has been tossing insults at Rosie since the days of flip phones and MySpace, recycling the same worn-out jabs, calling her a slob or a loser, as if he's trapped in a 2005 rerun. But this time, Rosie didn't just respond. She unleashed a comedic masterpiece. Maybe it was one too many late-night Truth Social rants that finally pushed her over the edge. Or maybe she simply decided it was time to dish out some well-deserved payback. Whatever the trigger, she arrived armed with sharp wit, biting sarcasm, and the pent-up energy of someone who'd been biding her time for years. And when she struck, it was nothing short of electrifying, like a bolt of lightning.
Like the Rosie O'Donnell debate. I like debating when you have a credit. Remember the Rosie O'Donnell?
Yeah, that was very funny. Megan,
crazy thing, Megan. That was a hell of a question, man. If I didn't come up with that answer,
it was a great line.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't.
And when I said that, the place went crazy. And she kept talking. No, she had like 10 other...
Yeah, well, Megan said you said it to other people and you admitted you did. But it was...
And settle it, she absolutely did. The internet erupted faster than you can say Kovfef, with the video going viral at lightning speed, quicker than Trump's mounting legal woes. TikTok was swamped with remixes, reaction videos, and Gen Zers breaking down the decades-long feud in sharp 30-second clips. Over on Twitter, hashtags like Rosie Goes Nuclear, Trump Meltdown 2025, and Check on Mar-a-Lago lit up the trending list like a fireworks finale on the 4th of July. even late-night hosts had to scramble, rewriting their monologues on the fly to make room for Rosie's epic takedown. It was one of those unforgettable cultural moments that stopped everyone in their tracks, forcing the world to hit pause and watch.
Are you watching this moron speak? Can he form a coherent sentence? He is the worst thing that ever happened. Period. And he's just babbling like an incoherent asshole. He's like Dr. Doom. He's the worst thing. Oh, you know what? He just lies, lies, lies. I am done with Donald Trump.
The mainstream media couldn't get enough of this showdown. CNN hailed it as O'Donnell's most brutal takedown to date, while Fox News framed it as another instance of Hollywood's so-called elites ganging up on Trump. Comedians, celebrities, and even casual Twitter users who had no stake in the feud couldn't resist diving into the fray. This wasn't just a viral moment, it was a seismic cultural event. Late-night hosts scrambled to rewrite their monologues, meme creators worked around the clock, and even your aunt's Facebook feed was overrun with opinions. The internet, as always, transformed it into a must-see spectacle, captivating everyone and keeping them glued to their screens.
I watched him yesterday. He couldn't put two sentences together. And it's not an age thing, it's a competence thing. He can't talk. And of course, he has to debate, I guess. I hope he's going to debate. I'm going to debate. You know, I don't want to debate people that I'm 60 points up on, because what's the purpose in doing that?
Does that mean no presidential primary debates for you?
Well, I don't see it. Look.
None? How about do the one just before Iowa? Do it, I'll moderate it.
Yeah, I know. I appreciate that. You know, like you did with the Rosie O'Donnell.
Would it be a deal breaker for you?
Look,
Would it?
Look,
Would it?
The people want a smart president. Ronald Reagan didn't do it. Nixon didn't do it. Nobody does it. I mean, like you asked me a question when you were moderating the debate for Fox, that frankly, if I didn't come up with the answer only Rosie O'Donnell, I would have had a problem with that. That was a bad...
Rosie's video became an unstoppable phenomenon, spreading like wildfire across every corner of the internet. People shared it as if it contained the key to everlasting life. Facebook moms quoted it in PTA group chats. Reddit users dissected it frame by frame like it was the Zapruder film. And even LinkedIn, of all platforms, had self-proclaimed experts hailing it as a masterclass in persuasive speech. The only one not enjoying the spectacle? Trump himself. You could practically picture him stomping around Mar-a-Lago, yelling at his staff, and hammering out an all-caps tirade about washed-up celebrities. And let's be honest, he probably watched the clip on repeat, his blood pressure spiking with every viewing. By the time the chaos subsided, Rosie had stolen the show, dominated social media, and left Trump desperately searching for a response. But let's be real. Once you've been verbally dismantled in front of the entire online world, there's no recovering from that.
Dancing, whatever. And so he held a press conference to announce whether or not she was going to retain her crown. Yeah. And then she started to cry.
She did.
So I just want to thank Donald is giving me a second chance.
And it was brilliant.
And there he is, hair looping, going, everyone deserves a second chance. And I'm going to give her a second chance.
Her hair is perfect for that. Your hair is perfect.
The decades-long feud between Rosie O'Donnell and Donald Trump feels like something straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster. A clash of larger-than-life personalities where egos clash and grudges burn eternal. For nearly 20 years, this rivalry has been a whirlwind of insults, social media spats, and headline-grabbing explosions. And the craziest part? Trump still can't seem to move on. The drama began in 2006 when Rosie, then co-hosting The View, decided she'd had enough of Trump's public antics. She didn't just critique him, she eviscerated him, calling out his business failures, his towering ego, and let's face it, his gravity-defying hair. But she didn't stop there. She roasted him with the sharp wit of a seasoned comedian at a no-holds-barred roast. Unsurprisingly, Trump didn't take it lightly. He didn't just respond, he went nuclear, cementing Rosie as his lifelong nemesis. From that moment on, Trump's obsession with Rosie became a strange side story in his life. He'd mention her in interviews, rant about her on TV, and somehow drag her into unrelated discussions. Ask him about infrastructure, and he'd pivot to, "Let me tell you about Rosie O'Donnell, she's a total mess. She's vile, inside and out. She talks like a sailor. She came after me because I celebrated when her talk show tanked. And her magazine, Rosie, don't even get me started. Absolute disaster." It's a feud that's as ridiculous as it is relentless, proving that when it comes to holding a grudge, Trump is in a league of his own.
Rosie O'Donnell's disgusting. I mean, both inside and out. You take a look at her, she's a slob. She talks like a truck driver. Rosie attacked me personally because I was very happy when her talk show failed. The other thing that failed, and this was a real monster, and everybody was suing her, was her magazine. Her magazine called Rosie was a total disaster. So I loved it. I gloat over it. I think it's wonderful because I like to see bad people fail. Rosie failed. I'm happy about it.
He simply couldn't let it go. Years passed, but Trump kept dragging Rosie into the spotlight like a jilted ex who refused to move on. In 2011, he unleashed another barrage of insults on Twitter. Back when the platform was still relatively sane, not the chaotic dumpster fire it is today. Then, during the infamous 2015 GOP debate, with the entire country watching, he somehow managed to make Rosie O'Donnell a talking point in his presidential campaign. When confronted about his history of sexist remarks, Trump could have deflected or toned it down. Instead, he smirked, shrugged, and delivered the now legendary line, "Only Rosie O'Donnell." That moment spoke volumes. Rosie wasn't just a casual target for Trump. She was an all-consuming obsession. While other presidents were addressing global crises or shaping policy, Trump was still seething over a dig Rosie had made back when flip phones were cutting-edge technology. The fact that he kept bringing her up, unprompted, in the middle of high-stakes political debates was downright surreal. It was obvious that, for Trump, Rosie wasn't just a fleeting feud, she was a lifelong fixation, a grudge he clung to like a trophy.
You've written about that famous question and exchange that he and I had at that August 6th, 2015, very first GOP presidential debate. It was 8 years ago now. The whole nation was watching. It was the first. It was exciting. And he and I sparred over, what was definitely a tough question about things he'd said about women. And he interrupted it with "Only Rosie O'Donnell." And the crowd laughed. And you analyzed that in a way that made so much sense. Can you do that here?
First of all, I'm just realizing how much you changed my life with that question, because the entire direction of my life changed in that moment. When he said the Rosie O'Donnell line, I actually stood up and walked toward the TV, and I said, I don't know what's happening here, but this is big.
But here's the kicker. Rosie never backed down. If Trump thought she'd quietly disappear into obscurity, he was sorely mistaken. Rosie doesn't just respond, she comes armed with a blowtorch. She transformed every insult into a joke, every attack into fuel, and never let him have the final say. She didn't just reply, she demolished him every single time. As Trump's presidency devolved into a spectacle of scandals, Rosie was right there, microphone in hand and a knowing smirk on her face. She roasted him in interviews, tore him apart on Twitter, and made him the butt of her comedy routines. Even as the Trump era descended into madness, Rosie remained a constant, relentlessly mocking him and keeping the pressure on. Now, years later, the saga rolls on. Trump's still fuming, still finding ways to drag Rosie into his tirades, and still acting like he's stuck in 2006, fighting a battle that everyone else has moved on from. And Rosie, she's still firing shots, still making him unravel, and still proving that no matter what he throws her way, she's always one step ahead. This feud isn't just a clash of egos, it's a masterclass in resilience, with Rosie turning Trump's obsession into her own comedic triumph.
What has it been like for you having the President of the United States criticize your physical appearance?
Well, not only my physical appearance, everything. My sexuality, my parenting, my wife. Like, he went really batshit crazy.
What is it about you that drew this out of him?
Well, that I told the truth about him at a time when everyone was afraid. But then I did the really offensive thing to him. I told the truth that he was bankrupt 4 times.
That's what did it.
He's not a self-made man, that he got his daddy's money, and that he also notoriously ripped off all these private contractors, family businesses all over New Atlantic City, went under because of his unethical ways. So I told the truth about him 10 years ago at a time when anyone could have found out those truths about him. But the media decided not to print it while he was running, not to talk about the fact that there was no equivalence between him and Hillary Clinton. Yeah. They acted like he was a legitimate candidate. So I feel like mainstream media is really responsible.
At this point, it's less of a feud and more of a one-sided fixation. While Rosie casually lobs zingers at Trump whenever the mood strikes, you can almost imagine Trump pacing around Mar-a-Lago, muttering "total disaster" under his breath as he replays her latest verbal takedown. Rosie didn't come to play nice. She came to win. The moment she started speaking, it was like watching a wrecking ball obliterate Trump's ego. She shredded his shady business dealings, highlighted the colossal failures of his presidency, and of course roasted his endless social media meltdowns. But the real knockout punch? Calling him the biggest con America ever fell for. Brutal. And she was just warming up. Rosie exploded like the grand finale of a fireworks show, mocking his obsession with crowd sizes, his disastrous track record on, well, everything, and his reality TV approach to governing. She even took a swipe at his Twitter, or X, exile, joking that Elon Musk probably let him back on the platform just for the laughs. The audience was in hysterics. Gasps, roaring laughter, and standing ovations. This wasn't just a roast. It was a full-blown verbal annihilation. Social media went into a frenzy, with fans celebrating her epic takedown while Trump's loyalists scrambled to spin the narrative. Rosie didn't just drop the mic, she set the entire political internet ablaze. This wasn't just a moment, it was a masterclass in how to dismantle an ego with nothing but sharp wit and biting words.
That's interesting. How come we never heard from the hospital or the doctors? How come we never heard from anyone but his fake doctor, whose name he doesn't recall? I'm really flabbergasted at how much he gets away with. I really am. Don't let him get away with anything else, people. And come on, one of you young, hungry journalists, young, you know? Somebody in your 20s, just out of college. Do a big piece on this. Make it a whole YouTube story. Do it. People will watch it because, you know, we need some answers.
True to form, Trump completely lost it the moment Rosie's rant began trending. His thumbs went into overdrive, unleashing an all-caps, rage-filled meltdown on Truth Social. It was the same old playbook. Rosie is a loser, a disaster, and somehow the cause of all America's woes. As if she single-handedly caused inflation or designed his mediocre golf courses. But this time, something was different. His usual cheerleaders were nowhere to be found. No frantic Fox News segments, no outraged defenders rushing to his aid. Just Trump, alone, spiraling into chaos. Even his most loyal supporters seemed to understand that taking on Rosie was a losing game. On the Trump meltdown scale, this one landed somewhere between his post-election tantrum and the infamous Sharpie map debacle. Classic over-the-top drama, but with an added layer of desperation. The truth is, Trump can't help himself. Rosie lives rent-free in his mind, and every time she takes him down, he only ends up proving her point. It's a never-ending loop of self-destruction that never fails to entertain.
Because Donald Trump has been mad at you for a very long time.
Over a decade.
Over a decade.
Yes.
And did it sort of start? It started from The View, yes?
The View.
Yeah. And it's been really, we've sort of made the joke on the show that he's flip-flopped on everything except you.
It's actually very true.
And just like that, the media frenzy kicked into high gear. Late-night hosts swooped in like vultures, with Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, and Seth Meyers turning Trump's meltdown into comedy gold for their opening monologues. Even news anchors struggled to keep straight faces as they recounted the latest chapter of Trump versus Rosie, the never-ending saga. Then came the memes. Twitter, or X, whatever it's called these days, exploded into a wildfire of viral chaos. There were edits of Rosie body-slamming Trump WWE style, fake movie posters for Revenge of the O'Donnell, and even a deepfake of Trump screaming, "Not Rosie again," like he was in a horror movie. Hashtags like non-Trump can't handle Rosie and Rosie2025 shot to the top of trending lists. But did any of it actually shift the needle? Not really. Trump's diehard supporters dismissed it as a hit job, his critics were rolling on the floor laughing, and the rest of the world simply shrugged it off as another day in the ongoing circus. Still, one thing was crystal clear. Rosie delivered a knockout punch, and Trump's ego might never recover. At this point, it's practically a universal truth. Trump can't resist Rosie O'Donnell. She could be out saving kittens, baking cookies, or just minding her own business, and he'd still find a way to rage post about her. The man has gone toe-to-toe with world leaders, yet nothing seems to rattle him quite like Rosie effortlessly dismantling him with a mic in hand. It's a dynamic that's as baffling as it is endlessly entertaining.
Rosie O'Donnell, who's had a very, very long feud with Donald Trump, recently tweeted about how Barron Trump, the 10-year-old son of Donald Trump, might possibly suffer from autism. Now, she did so in a tweet where she wrote, "Barron Trump autistic? If so, what an amazing opportunity to bring attention to the autism epidemic." Now, I should state that she has a 3-year-old who was diagnosed with high-functioning autism. And even so, I hate that she tweeted that.
That's because Rosie has a knack for hitting Trump where it hurts the most. She doesn't just hurl insults, she turns him into a joke. She transforms his meltdowns into comedy routines, his blunders into viral moments, and his fragile ego into a national laughingstock. And Trump, he can't handle it. It all comes down to his massive ego and his insatiable need for attention. Every jab feels like a threat to his legacy, every quip a chip in his carefully crafted persona. The irony, his over-the-top reactions are what keep these moments alive. If he simply shrugged and moved on, the headlines would fade. But because he can't resist lashing out, the world gets to sit back, grab some popcorn, and watch yet another classic Trump meltdown. If there's one thing we've learned, it's that Trump never lets anything go, and Rosie knows exactly how to provoke him. This isn't just another celebrity spat, it's a cultural phenomenon that's carved its place in pop culture history. Rosie just delivered another mic drop moment, and Trump, for all his bluster and bravado, is left shouting into the void, desperately trying to rewrite the story. But the harder he fights, the more he proves her right. It's a cycle that's endlessly entertaining, and one that shows no signs of stopping.
Tweet this all the time.
Go ahead, I'm
what
probably
are
not
your
going to answer.
thoughts on Donald Trump and his comments that he's made recently?
He will never be president.
Let's cut to the chase. Who won this round? Rosie, no contest. She didn't just outclass Trump, she took his ego, ran it through a comedy blender, and delivered a masterclass in verbal takedowns. Her words hit like laser-guided missiles, igniting the internet, dominating the news cycle, and leaving Trump flailing in the one position he despises: playing defense. Meanwhile, Trump did what he always does: lost his cool and overreacted. He unleashed his trademark all-caps rants, but even his most loyal followers seemed less enthusiastic than usual. The whole spectacle felt tired, like a rerun of a show everyone's already watched too many times. And let's be real, it was. So, what's next? Rosie might drop another bombshell, keeping the drama alive. Trump might go scorched earth, spewing a fresh round of incoherent insults. Or wild card. Another celebrity could jump into the fray, turning this feud into an all-out free-for-all. One thing's certain, this battle isn't over. Rosie's living rent-free in Trump's head, and the more he obsesses over her, the more she comes out on top. It's a cycle that keeps giving, and Rosie's firmly in control. And that's the lowdown on the never-ending saga of Rosie versus Trump. If you enjoyed this deep dive into their epic showdown, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more pop culture madness, savage roasts, and updates on the wildest celebrity feuds. Drop a comment and let us know. Who do you think won this round? Rosie, Trump, or the internet? Stick around because you know this drama isn't going anywhere. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.